tell you the news.
We welcome Diamond and Silk.
Mark Zuckerberg will end up, and it's going to be a face without the foot. Without the face.
Hey, Megan, how are you?
Now they're chipping away at the normalization of pedophilia, and the left is embracing this type of behavior.
We welcome Dinesh D'Souza.
I know I ticked him off. In a certain sense, it's a giant up yours to Obama, and that's why the left is freaking out over it.
Jack Kennedy and LBJ, Clinton, and the double standard from the left.
Yeah, I love how the left does nothing but push the most bizarre practices down our throats and up our tailpipes.
It takes a real man to tackle the hot issues that really matter.
Michael Hart is the man of this house.
Welcome to the Michael Hart Show.
Hello, this is Michael Hart, and you're listening to Heart of America Presents, the Monday edition of the program. And then there's that, a little bit different than the normal fare of just the Michael Hart Show. On Then There's That, we typically take some of the hot button stories from the week before, get a little bit deeper into them, break them down for you, tell you what is how it matured over the course of the previous week and over the weekend, and then, of course, give you some thoughts on what we can expect in the future. Obviously, one of the hot button stories of the week and weekend is the continuation of the government shutdown. We're going to get into that, and also some vacationing congressmen that don't seem to care so much about the shutdown. Also, more on the corrupt FBI and accusations leveled by the president directed at James Comey. We've got our Ruth Watch going on. Last week, we posted all over the internet that we've had some insight that from some of our connections that Ruth Bader Ginsburg was on the short list for retirement from the Supreme Court. That seems to be getting a little bit more, how can I put it? Well, yeah, it's coming. So we've got the Ruth Watch going on and a lot of other things we're going to be talking about. Also, as it relates to Alexandria Cortez, she continues to just absolutely not cease to surprise and be a gift that just keeps on giving for those of us that are in the broadcasting arena. Also, we are eating up with some really good audio today over the course of the last several days related to the shutdown, what is going on with Trump as far as the government's concerned. It looks like Donald Trump making a lot of inroads with the American public as it relates to support for the wall as the truth. There it is. Boom, there it is. As the truth gets out to people, that much of what's going on the border is actually a little bit worse than the way the president has portrayed it. And the fact that you have got many people along the southern border that are expressing massive amounts of gratitude. We've got some interesting audio from those in the field, border agents specifically. We'll also hear in just a bit from Mark Morgan. I'll explain more about that here momentarily. Will the Democrats capitulate? It's looking more and more likely as each day goes by. Now, as many of you are aware, the president does have the constitutional right to take monies allocated for border security and for basically the defense of this nation and move them over to the wall, to the fence, whatever it might look like. And so there's been a debate as to whether or not Pelosi specifically, but with the support of Schumer, might also attempt to push the president into making that decision so that they can at the very least declare a victory. The problem with that is that they would be simultaneously handing the president a victory. Now, Trump has telegraphed over the course of the weekend that he is not anywhere close to making that decision, as I believe he believes he's actually making progress because, as I pointed out earlier, public polling is suggesting that, in fact, the president his points are getting through. So that's probably the hot button issue of the day, the hot button issue of this particular program, as well as the audio. For those of you that are not familiar, this is a live program. It is also caller friendly at 929-477-3761, 929-477-3761. The only thing that we ask if you call the program is that you stay on one of the 3 or 4 topics of the day. And again, that does involve the shutdown, what impact it's having on American federal workers that did, in fact, miss their very first check this past week. Also, FBI corruption, who might fill the vacancy, which is going to be left by a, quite frankly, ill Ruth Bader Ginsburg. And, of course, we always love talking about democratic socialism. This program is also brought to you in part by Liberty One Tech. You can check them out at liberty1tech.com for all your technology needs. You can also sign up for their security check for your computer. Check them out right now at liberty1tech.com. It's the number 1, not O-N-E, liberty1tech.com. Tell me you heard about them on the Michael Hart Show. And then there's that. And, of course, also the Unknown America Project. The Unknown America Project basically is, how can I put this, an attempt by me to not only write books and speak, which, by the way, we are available to speak at your events, your conferences, your colleges, your churches on the Unknown America, myths and little-known oddities about the greatest nation on earth. But in addition to that, the fact that much of what goes on in this country today, truth matters. And let me give you just a little bit of an idea, because I think a lot of people are under the impression that when I talk about Unknown America, and of course every Wednesday's edition, but these are archived as well, every Wednesday's edition of this program is called The Unknown America. And we get into some of the historical fallacies and misconceptions and revisions of American history. But another reason that we do the Unknown America Project is the fact that almost every day of the week, and I'm being very serious about that. I mean, very serious. Please don't paint me with the Alex Jones brush as though I'm one of those hierarchical, conspiratorial type of radio host, because I'm not. I'm actually pretty logical and pretty level-headed, but I've gotten to find that there's a lot of fallacies and a lot of things that we're talked about every single day in this country, primarily perpetrated by a very compliant media. And I don't necessarily mean a left-leaning media. I mean a media that has an agenda, which, over the years, we've heard people talk about how friendly the media was, for example, to the Obama administration. I don't know that that's as true as the fact that perhaps the media is just that left of center anyway, and it creates the illusion that they're supporting a left-leaning agenda of the president when, in fact, they're supporting their own ideologies, which we're learning each and every day are, quite frankly, warped. To our Facebook pages past week or so, put up these cute little memes of Jim Acosta from CNN, and Jim Acosta, of course, with the trip to the border, and there's nothing to see here, just move along, nobody's standing outside this fence trying to charge the fence. And then he gets called out for being the idiot, the jackaloon that he really is, as people point out that there's nobody there because there's a fence. And then, of course, you've got all the other memes that are floating around. There was one that I posted up on the Heart of America Facebook page a day or so ago, him standing outside of Hoover Dam. And there's no water on this side of the dam, so why do we need a dam? And the idiocracy that seems to accompany almost every single story that is in the press. Because people are not willing to seek out the truth, they are dependent upon news outlets, for example, like this one. But the Tony Robbins, the motivational speaker, used to always say that the quality of your life comes down to the quality of questions that you ask yourself. In other words, questions like, oh, man, why am I so stupid? That doesn't help, as opposed to, how can I make this situation better, just for an example. The reason I bring that up is that the quality of questions that we're asking of our politicians, of our media, of our talk radio hosts and our commentators is every bit of as important, probably more so, when it comes to getting to the truth. And the president seems to be getting the message of the truth out there. Now, albeit with somewhat of a sometimes salty, kind of curious, if not suspicious way of delivering it, but it is finally permeating. Because the fact of the matter is, as we have played this audio many times before of Obama and Clinton and Barbara Boxer and Dianne Feinstein, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. All these leaders that for years have come out and said that they felt like we needed border security and a wall. Somehow, the media has been very culpable in keeping that in check and keeping that from the American public. And they're beginning to just now warm up to the fact that as well as the travel ban, as well as to a degree even the trade deals, that Trump is really doing nothing more than what previous administrations have desired. Check out this audio. It's from Mark Morgan. This is actually an interview that he did a couple of days ago, and we're going to kind of tear through this just a little bit. But I want you to check this out for me real quick, and then we'll talk about it on the other side.
I agree 100% with what the president is trying to do with all things related to border security. It is absolutely 100%, in my opinion, and this isn't based on some political ideology. Neil, this is based on 30 years of governmental service. This is based on walking some of the same ground that you saw the president working, talking to the ranchers, talking to the landowners, talking to United States Border Patrol agents who risk their lives every single day doing that. And I'm telling you, this is absolutely a national security and humanitarian crisis along the southwest border.
Now, that was Mark Morgan. Name probably doesn't mean much to you. Morgan was Barack Obama's border security chief. Oh, I'm still here. People from the Obama administration are finally coming out and stating very emphatically about where that administration stood on border security. Now, this past week, a little bit into the weekend, President Trump traveled down to McAllen, Texas, and stayed along the border for about a day or so. And he interviewed several agents, and one of the chief agents that he had the opportunity to speak with was caught on camera, and of course the video as well. This is a conversation, albeit it's more from the side of the border agent. This is actually one of the border officials that is in charge of one of the contingents of agents along the borders addressing President Trump just a couple days ago.
We have 55 miles of fencing in this sector. We started a job in 2006. We need to finish that job. We've got the personnel. We need the technology. We need the resources. We need the infrastructure in order to control this border and manage it. Part of our area is covered with some fencing on our east side. That accounts for about 6% of our traffic. Where we have no fencing, over 90% of our traffic occurs in those areas.
Where we have no fencing, 90% of our traffic occurs. This is apparently something that has been entirely lost on Jim Acosta. So you've got the border agent telling the President of the United States where there's fence, there's no problem. Then you have got the border security chief, Mark Morgan, under the Obama administration saying this is exactly what we need. This is exactly what we wanted. This is exactly what we asked for while I was serving as the chief border security agent under the Obama administration. But Morgan didn't stop there. In the interview, he was also asked about the hypocrisy of previous administrations and had this to say.
If people go back, I strongly encourage people to look it up. Get on the internet and look it up, and you will see the same things that are being said by our president today. The same language was being used by former presidents, by former politicians on both sides of the aisle, saying that we needed a fence, that we needed a wall, a physical barrier, whatever you want to call it. They approved it then, and they were saying the same language back in 2006 that the current president is saying now to secure our borders. It's absurd, the arguments that are being made right now.
And that is the reason we call this program, And Then There's That. Quick break, coming right back. You're listening to Heart of America Presents And Then There's That on the Heart of America Talk Radio Network. Stick around. We're coming right back. Heart of America and the Michael Hart Show is brought to you in part by the Unknown America Project. Unknown America, myths and little-known oddities about the greatest nation on earth, explores many of the falsehoods and fallacies and revisions in American history that impact the beliefs and the thoughts of many people in this country today. So if you'd like to learn some of the most enduring myths that have been perpetrated on the American public for the last 100-plus years in this country, go check out the book at heartofamerica.net. That's heartofamerica.net. And pick up a copy of Unknown America. It comes out to you absolutely no shipping, be autographed, and we'll even send you a copy of the United States Constitution as our way of saying thanks. So support the Unknown America Project by simply going to theunknownamerica.com, and thank you for your support. The Land Report, the magazine for the American landowner, is a proud supporter of the Michael Hart Show. Currently, they're offering an exclusive subscription price for listeners of the Michael Hart Show. So click on the subscribe button on landreport.com and enter the code HARTSHOW at checkout and receive a one-year discount on America's #1 land magazine. You'll get a full year of the Land Report, which normally goes for $59, for only $15. That's a 75% savings off the cover price. Again, that's promo code HARTSHOW at checkout of thelandreport.com, and make sure to check out the Land Report on Facebook if you love land. This is the Monday edition of the Michael Hart Show, and then there's that, brought to you by the Heart of America Talk Radio Network, in part by Liberty One Tech and the Unknown America Project. A lot of people simply do not realize that from a constitutional perspective, and it's primarily covered in Article 2 of the Constitution, that the President of the United States has a constitutional authority to protect the United States from invasions as well as any other security concern. And that is a big part of the reason why we have a defense budget, obviously. And that defense budget can, in fact, be employed for the purposes of building this darn wall once and for all. Also, over the course of the last several days, many people across the country have come to realize that the amount of money that is being taught, let me put it this way, about a week from now, the cost of the government shutdown in terms of dollars not being distributed to federal employees will surpass the amount of money we're talking about the House of Representatives allocating. At that point, it will be understood that this is about nothing more than politics and not the wall itself. Because Pelosi and Schumer, almost every single shutdown in the history of this country has been related to some form of funding dispute. Tax breaks, tax cuts for certain groups, monies allocated for this program. A couple of different times there was the issue of abortion legislation that kind of crept into the debate. But even that had to do with federal funding and not so much the actual act of termination of an innocent life. Shutdowns are almost always inspired by economic disagreement. With like I said, a couple of exceptions where abortion kind of crept into the argument. there comes a point in time where the shutdown, economically speaking, no longer makes sense because the shutdown will then become more costly than the dispute that originated the shutdown in the first place. And we are at that point. So what could be the justification for Pelosi and her right hand, I don't know what you're going to call him, because, number one, Schumer's not a member of the House of Representatives. He is standing beside old man for reasons I can't figure out, talking about prohibiting a bill from going to the floor when it's not even in the chamber that he presides over. But I digress. Nonetheless, we have the continuation of the shutdown, but then we have Democrats actually already did it, on attending the Congressional Hispanic Caucus, the Bold Pack gathering. This was in San Juan, and met with Puerto Rican officials to discuss ongoing cleanup efforts from Hurricane Maria. Republicans are now angered over images of Democrats enjoying the island's beaches as the partial government shutdown has entered into its third week. It is now officially the longest shutdown in history. According to Sarah Sanders, over the course of the weekend, in a tweet, because it didn't really happen, he had tweeted, Democrats in Congress are so alarmed about federal workers not getting paid that they're partying on the beach instead of negotiating a compromise to reopen the government and secure the border. Now, arguably, this was already planned, but could it not have been postponed? Is this not a matter of political priority? Yes, what I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, is many Democrats are on the beach partying while federal workers are not getting paid. By the way, the government pays that tab. Let's just sit here and wait for the phones to ring and people tell me why they vote Democrat. Don't worry. I'll sit here and, let's see, 929-477-3761. Democrats treat you like complete, utter crap. They lie to you. They go to the beach on your dime when not only do we have 800,000 federal employees furloughed and not getting paid, all the contractors also related to those agencies are also not getting paid and will not get back pay. So somebody call the show who's a Democrat to explain to me why you insist on voting Democrats when they lie out of their bunghole to you on a daily basis, okay? 929-477-3761. This program is live, but it's also going to be archived, so your comments will be left in perpetuity. So just give us a call, but I only want to hear from Democrats, okay? I'll wait. All right. GOP Chairwoman Ronna McDaniel also lambasted the Democrats in Puerto Rico for, quote, hitting the beach and partying with lobbyists. That also in a tweet just yesterday. While President Trump is in D.C. working to resolve the government shutdown and secure the border, Democrats are hitting the beach and partying with the lobbyists. This, according to a tweet from McDaniel. Around 109 lobbyists and corporate executives are named in a memo welcoming the guests to the seaside resort in Puerto Rico. Among those attending are members of some of the prominent Washington firms, as well as representatives from R.J. Reynolds, Facebook, Comcast, Amazon, Microsoft, Intel, Verizon, and unions like the National Education Association. This year's winter retreat promises, according to their brochure, to be our most widely attended yet, with over 220 guests, including 39 members of Congress. Bold PAC supporters expected to attend and participate in a planning memo. A spokesman for Bold PAC, part of the Congressional Hispanic Caucus, would not tell the Washington Examiner which members of Congress would be attending, but U.S. Senator Bob Menendez, remember him, the guy that was almost convicted, was spotted on the beach Saturday with a scantily clad young lady, I might like to add. So, and then there's that. We've got Democrats hanging out, partying, doing their thing, and just basically while, you worry about paying your bills, trying to figure out who's lying to you and who's not. And yet again, let me go out here to the phones and... are going to call me and justify this. There's absolutely no way in the world they can possibly do it. And you know why that might be? Because so many of them are, I don't know, just so enamored with Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. The majority of American millennials now, according to a brand new report released just days ago, identify as socialist, according to both Reason Rupp and Victims of Communism Memorial Foundation. Of course, that's the bad news. The good news is just 32% of millennials can define socialism. Yeah. Okay. So, remember the Democrats, okay? The ones that are going to get supportive behind the the representatives, pardon me, and now they're down in Puerto Rico. Okay. Listen to what I just told you. Everything in the news cycle is connected. You've got to realize everything in the news cycle is connected. So you've got the people over here that are buying the tripe from Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer and others. They continue to elect these people over and over and over again. They ain't got a clue because they don't pay attention to the news. But the majority of American millennials, according to these two particular organizations, the majority of American millennials now identify as socialists. Majority by definition would mean at least 50% plus one, and I'm sure it's higher than that. The majority of millennials identify as socialist, but just 32% of millennials can define socialism. During an interview on 60 Minutes, Anderson Cooper asked Alexandria, this is a quote, by the way, when people hear the word socialism, they think Soviet Union, Cuba, Venezuela. Is that what you have in mind? He neglected, of course, to mention the vicious socialist regimes of Cambodia, Ethiopia, Romania, North Korea, China, among others. She retorted, of course not. What we have in mind, and what of my, I'm reading this directly, folks, what we have in mind, and what of my, and my policies most closely resemble what we see in the UK and Norway and Finland and Sweden. In fact, her economic proposals, well, frankly, they bear very little resemblance to British and or Nordic public policy. And there's an interesting op-ed by Michael Knowles that appeared on Fox a day or so ago. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, the voice of an ignorant generation. And then there's that. 929-477-3761. Let's go over and take a Republican call or two, shall we? Hello, Clark. How are you?
Hey, Michael. How are you?
I would say 1-0 wonderful, but that just doesn't play anymore. So I'll just say pretty good.
Well, all we had. Anyway, so let's go to the shutdown, sort of. We keep hearing talk about prior Democrat support for the wall, but now because Trump's president, they won't support it. And that's a fallacy. When they supported a wall, they were paying lip service, but they had absolutely no intention about everything ever getting done. They could talk about it, but they knew it wasn't going to happen, and so they could support it. Kind of like Doug Jones will vote the will of the people of Alabama as long as it doesn't make a difference. You know? And where they are right now is they require a steady stream of people that were not born and raised in the United States in order to keep them in power. My understanding is there's something like 1 million illegal aliens voting in the state of California through motor voter. Now, you think about control of the House of Representatives, state and local governments, representation in the Electoral College, et cetera, and I got to think that right now, Chuck and Nancy have quite the dilemma. If they allow the wall, that stream that keeps putting them over the top gets cut off. But if they keep fighting the wall, eventually there are going to have to be some Democrat voters that have enough sense to pick up on what's going on, don't they?
Well, first off, observation number one about cutting off the stream of voters is 100% on target. I mean, that's exactly what this is all about. Why? Number one, Clark, how could anybody make the argument that it's not? Because the money's not the issue. We already know from the border agents that walls work. We also know that there's problems to the south. So we know for a fact that, their desire is to allow the free influx. The issue now becomes exactly what you're pointing to. And that means at what point does the number of illegal voters coming into this country, at what point does it reach parity with the number of current Democrat voters that finally wake up, see the light, and move on, whether they become Republicans or merely independents? That is something that only Nancy Pelosi can gauge. And I suggest that number is getting closer and closer and closer every single day.
Well, Michael, you ever play chess or watch people that are good to play chess?
Sure, absolutely.
Okay. You see somebody and they set a trap and they leave the other guy a choice. You're going to be checkmate or you lose your queen. Or you can lose a rook or you can lose your queen. And that's kind of where Donald Trump has put them right now, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, the analogy.
Now, then I have to wonder, is he smart enough to have seen this before he took the stance he took? And I don't know the answer to that. I do know that the man's a genius. You look at the way he uses every asset that he has at his disposal. Oh, I just don't know if he was smart enough to set this up or it just turned out this way. But,
I think that he probably set it up to a degree. I don't know. He still had to have some culpability from Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer. And let me tell you real quickly what I'm talking about. When I was a kid, and I mean 16, 17 years of age, I actually worked as an assistant manager in a restaurant, Clark. And this is probably going to make no sense on the outset, but let me finish. I worked as an assistant manager in a restaurant, and we had a couple waitresses that were really good, but they had been there for so long, they would sometimes take longer breaks than necessary, or maybe they'd eat some food they weren't supposed to eat and whatnot. Now, here I am, and I'm becoming assistant manager in this restaurant, and I forgot what this one particular waitress had done, but I wrote a sign, and I put it over there in the drink station, from here on out, let it forever be known, or however I phrased it, that this is not acceptable, it's off limits, and it's a reason for termination. The general manager saw that sign about, I don't know, an hour or so later, walked over and took it down off the wall. And he looked at me and goes, Michael, I know they're breaking the rule, but are you really willing to fire your best wait staff over something that makes absolutely no difference to us? You can do that if you feel like you're so compelled, but don't ever put it in writing, because then you have no choice and you have no wiggle room to change your mind. That's kind of where Pelosi is today, where she's come out with such a strong stance that she, if she was to capitulate at this point, I personally feel like her power and influence as Speaker of the House is very much in jeopardy. She exposes her weak points, and she sets her up, maybe not from removal from the office, but she probably would not survive another Speaker of the House vote in the future. They have cast the die, and they could, and I don't know that Trump could have ever seen that coming, but they did it to themselves, and so now they've got to live with the end result. Because last week, I would have told you I thought there was going to be a heavy-duty compromise between Trump and Pelosi. I'm starting to think Trump's got this on one.
Oh, all he's got to do is stay where he is. If he will stand fast, he is all good. And as you say, Nancy has painted herself into quite the corner.
Yes, she has.
And I don't know. I do think that it is quite the dilemma. If you put yourself in the Democrats' shoes, they either lose the steady stream of new voters, or they start to alienate the undecideds and I don't know, what are they, the Trump Democrats now maybe? I don't know.
Well, the funny thing is, the people that are now disagreeing with the Pelosi's of the world, the Democrats, some of them are moving towards the center. Some of them, to a lesser degree, or are flipping over to Trump. But another faction of them is becoming part of the Ocasio-Cortez faction. They are Democrats in name only that are now beginning to stand tall, because as whack as this chick is, Clark, she is gaining speed and momentum. Then you start throwing the Beto O'Rourke's into the mix, and of course, to a lesser degree, the Cory Bookers and the Kamala Harrises of the world. This woman is young. She's a Democrat socialist. She doesn't know. She's not smart enough to know not to attack Nancy Pelosi. And so now you're seeing this army of vibrant, idealistic young Democrats taking on what they perceive to be the Democratic posture within the party. Although the Ocasio-Cortezes of the world not only don't want a wall either, but see, they don't want a wall for more idealistic purposes. Pelosi's concerned about the votes. This chick just wants free things for everybody and one world government, and a soothing kind of paternalistic view of governing the American population. So you've got two very stark agendas that, although they want the same thing, they are defiant and they're clashing with one another. So the Democrats, the disenfranchised Democrats, suddenly find themselves a wealth of different choices of places to park their vote. And I think that Pelosi is in for it. I really and truly do. It won't happen this week or next week, but she's going to lose this battle.
Well, I think what you're identifying there, Michael, and I kind of saw this, the difference I saw between Hillary Clinton and perhaps Barack Obama. Hillary talked leftism because it was a means to power, whereas Barack Obama was indoctrinated as a child and probably is still a true believer. And, Nancy has used the leftist policies, tactics, et cetera, to gain and maintain power. And Ocasio-Cortez is a true believer. And she's not going to be bogged down by facts or logic or anything else. As long as she has her moral ideology, it's all good. And like you say, there's a lot of young people that have been indoctrinated for so long in this that they also are true believers.
Sure. I mean, look at the study that came out just a couple of days ago, where the majority of American millennials are now identified as socialist, but only 30% of them can define socialism. How do you do that? I mean, how do you claim to be something that you don't know? That's how ignorant this younger generation. Now, I don't want to paint with too broad of a brush, but they really are politically that ignorant to the realities of the world around them, and they have a leader that's every bit as ignorant. So if you start to factor that into the equation, then how easy is it for the Pelosi's of the world to try to sell the notion that the border wall is bad? And then you have people such as Jim Acosta out there as a flag bearer for the party. And every single day we are learning that they are just that disenfranchised from reality. And that level of ignorance, whether it come from the Cortez camp or the Pelosi camp, that level of ignorance is so burdensome, one or the other, perhaps both, will collapse under its own weight.
Well, it's not going to be a peaceful transition between the two.
No, it's not. No, it is not.
And, I think they fraction apart at some point in time in the not too distant future. Simply because the what's the word I want? The goals that they have are going to be different. The true believers are actually going to want things, and the ones that have espoused this for so long, they just want to stay in power. They don't want to see things actually implemented. They just want the promise thereof.
Well, something else to kind of bear in mind from the perspective of Pelosi, and there's been some idiotic memes out there that Pelosi doesn't want the wall because it's a constant reminder that Donald Trump was president. But there's actually a little bit of truth to that, because it's very rare, unless you're Franklin Roosevelt, it was very rare for a president to be able to have these infrastructure or these permanent structures, if you will, of constant reminders of their administration. And the wall would represent that in the minds of many, many, many Americans. And so there's a lot more to just, the voter aspect to it as well. And so the Pelosi's of the world, she painted herself into a corner. She's not going to capitulate. She's going to keep the shutdown going. You're absolutely right. Trump does not have to move a pawn. All he has to do is sit tight and endure a little bit of negative tweets, hurled his direction. But at the end of the day, the Democrats, the Pelosi Democrats anyway, are going to find themselves in a position where every single day, each passing day, more and more and more of the shutdown, they have to take ownership of it, because that ball is now in their court and they are rapidly running out of time and or options.
Couldn't agree more, Michael.
Clark, I appreciate the call, my friend.
You take care. Bye-bye now. All
righty. Yeah, it's funny because how many times over the years, I'm going on somewhere in the neighborhood of 13, 14 years of doing this in one form or the other, and that is political commentary. When people begin to realize that many of these stories that are so permeating the national psyche and the trending issues of the day, there's an interconnection. There really is a thread that kind of weaves through each and every one of them. And the four stories that we're working on today from the previous week are advances made in the Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez camp. Of course, the government shutdown, which is directly related to the wall, obviously. And then the justification from the Democrats about the wall not being needed because we have all this variety of other apparatuses, which, as Clark pointed out, there's a lot of lip service being paid to that. And then you've got the corrupt FBI leaders that we now have learned that after Comey was released, people within the FBI began to investigate Donald Trump because everything is very, very, very anti-Trump. So you've got people that are coming out there that are demanding the previous administration's Republican and Democrat wanted the wall. They can't get it done. Trump does, pisses off the FBI, gives rise to the Socialist Democrat Party. Alexandria Cortez shoots to the top. She's going to be prom queen to Beto O'Rourke's prom king. And so now we've got the factionalization of the Democrats, and a lot of folks out there scratching their head, wondering where the next shoe is going to drop. And why wouldn't they be scratching their head when you realize that the majority of millennials call themselves socialist, while only 30% can define the word? And then there's that.
Does your home have a water problem? Drainage around your home can cause all kinds of headaches. Disease-causing mold, cracks in walls, foundation failure, even roof leaks. At Alabama Water Management, we know that problems can often be fixed from where the water is coming from, outside. Our approach is less invasive and less expensive. So before you spend thousands on a potentially unnecessary waterproofing system, call Alabama Water Management for a free evaluation. Alabama Water Management. Don't waterproof, water prevent.
Find Alabama Water Management on Facebook or on their website at alah2o.com. Heart of America and The Michael Hart Show is brought to you in part by the Unknown America Project. Unknown America, myths and little-known oddities about the greatest nation on earth, explores many of the falsehoods and fallacies and revisions in American history that impact the beliefs and the thoughts of many people in this country today. So if you'd like to learn some of the most enduring myths that have been perpetrated on the American public for the last 100-plus years in this country, go check out the book at heartofamerica.net. That's heartofamerica.net. And pick up a copy of Unknown America. It comes out to you absolutely no shipping, be autographed, and we'll even send you a copy of the United States Constitution as our way of saying thanks. So support the Unknown America Project by simply going to theunknownamerica.com, and thank you for your support.
It's the Michael Hart Show.
Come again?
The Michael Hart Show.
You know I don't speak Spanish. In English, please.
A liberal dose of conservatism.
How'd you do that? I'm not even mad. That's amazing.
I agree 100% with what the president is trying to do with all things related to border security. It is absolutely 100%, in my opinion, and this isn't based on some political ideology. Neil, this is based on 30 years of governmental service. This is based on walking some of the same ground that you saw the president working, talking to the ranchers, talking to the landowners, talking to United States Border Patrol agents who risk their lives every single day doing that. And I'm telling you, this is absolutely a national security and humanitarian crisis along the southwest border. If people go back, I strongly encourage people to look it up. Get on the internet and look it up, and you will see the same things that are being said by our president today. The same language was being used by former presidents, by former politicians on both sides of the aisle, saying that we needed a fence, that we needed a wall, a physical barrier, whatever you want to call it. They approved it then, and they were saying the same language back in 2006 that the current president is saying now to secure our borders. It's absurd, the arguments that are being made right now.
That's Mark Morgan, the former Obama administration border security chief. We got over and over and over and over and over again Democrats saying they support the wall. Now, were they paying it lip service? Well, look at it this way. There was a period under the Obama administration, first 2 years, where they maintained, obviously they had the White House, they had the Senate, they had the House. What did they get done? It wasn't until they strong-armed Republicans to vote on health care changes. That was years into the administration. Talked about border security, didn't do a damn thing with it. They advanced the notion of expanding gay marriage. I don't care if you marry a Cocker Spaniel. but that was their main agenda. Has anybody noticed in the last year or so how many new commercials there are that involve same-sex couples? I mean, I would say I saw, I don't know, half a dozen of them this weekend alone. There was one that was last night on an investment. I forgot what movie I was even watching, like Harry Potter or something. This was background noise. I looked up and there was a commercial for some new investment program. Big company, too. Shows the two men and arm kind of going through their portfolio together. And again, I don't care if you marry a Cocker Spaniel, but why do we have to have now, all of a sudden, same-sex couples in every single commercial that we're seeing out there? That's what the Obama administration left with us. To the Republicans to get health care. They definitely had a cultural impact, but didn't really have much of an impact any other way. All the chatter about access to health care. You've always had access to health care. It's called get your checkbook out. And finally, the truth is breaking through to some people. Now, looking at this story where the majority of millennials claim to now be Democrat socialists, despite the fact that a minority of them can define the word, that's sad, but simultaneously funny. And also semi-simultaneously not as concerning to me, because this was a lost portion of the generation anyway. And it would be unfair to suggest that this group of young Americans is any less intelligent than previous groups of young Americans. I mean, when you're young, you're pretty much I won't say an idiot, but a lot of younger people, they just don't get it. They're not up to speed. They don't pay attention to a lot of things that go on in the world around them. That's really not that unusual. But for those that are left in attendance, I do find it very curious that you still have so many people that are refusing to see the reality of what is going on in terms of what the Pelosi Democrats are up to. They didn't see it under Obama. They got completely brainwashed into believing some kind of accomplishments were made, when the biggest accomplishments that were made were giving you a website that would allow you to buy insurance through the federal government, get some cash for your old clunker, subsidize your cell phone bill, and marry your sister, all while getting a sex change operation. Wow, the impact that had on so many Americans. It's also interesting to note in the last few weeks that we have had a few things that, I don't know, just kind of popped up in terms of my personal insurance, which kind of forced me into the insurance marketplace. I opted out and went ahead and just did the COBRA thing because of what I realized dealing with, the Obama healthcare.gov website. So anyway, the point of it all is that people are finally waking up. They're finally coming to realize that what has happened with the wall, with the shutdown, is rapidly becoming the property of the Pelosi Democrats. Yep. All right, guys. Then there's this, which will soon become, and then there's that. Last week, we put out on social media that there was the likelihood that Ruth Bader Ginsburg would be stepping down amid health concerns. Now, we do have connections across the country where we validate and verify many of the things that we discuss from a political perspective before we put them out there. Her retirement is not imminent, but it is fast approaching. Her health continues to deteriorate. There has been a lot of speculation from her absence this past week in oral arguments. Her first, by the way, since Georgia. The White House has had its flags raised about the nominee so that it will fully vet that person. Most likely, as some have speculated, the replacement for Ruth Bader Ginsburg will also be a female. Now, Graham, who is the new chairman of the Senate Judiciary Committee, emphasized that former Democrat Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid eliminated the Senate filibuster for federal appellate judicial nominees in 2013. Republicans later retaliated by eliminating the filibuster for Supreme Court appointments, meaning that a simple majority rather than the 60-vote supermajority is sufficient to confirm new Supreme Court nominees. And remember, the confirmation takes place in the Republican-held Senate. Going to be very interesting to see, because the wall itself, as I was speaking to previous caller Clark, the wall itself is a physical representation that Trump was here, whereas the Supreme Court will be a philosophical representation, and one that theoretically could last another 20 years. And in the case of a Gorsuch or a Kavanaugh, 30. I think it's premature to suggest that you'll see the departure of Clarence Thomas anytime in the very near future, but that could come towards the end of a Mike Pence administration. So while you have all the debate over Democrat socialism and immigration and the wall and government shutdown, we are on the precipice of a conservative majority Supreme Court. And I mean devoutly conservative and dependable. Is that what's coming next? It certainly would appear so. Graham went on to say, my Democrat colleagues felt that when they were in charge, we should confirm judges by a majority vote. They changed the rules to accommodate President Obama. They tried to stack the court. They never thought that Hillary Clinton would lose. So what you're going to have is Harry Reid and Chuck Schumer's desire to stack the court on their Democrat watch has come back to haunt them. And then there's that. In addition to this, we've got more we're watching in terms of the FBI corruption. And this is not the corruption of Trump, but the corruption now of the FBI as their woes continue to worsen. Going to take a real quick one, wrap this puppy up here in just a few moments. You're listening to, and then there's that, a presentation of Heart of America, brought to you also in part by LibertyOneTech.com, LibertyNumber1Tech.com. Go check them out over at LibertyOneTech.com for your security checkup on all of your devices. Also, while you're roaming around out there, go check out The Unknown America, TheUnknownAmerica.com. Pick up a copy of the book that started it all. It's discounted. It will come autographed. A whole other shipment's going out today as well. Had several orders coming over the course of just the last couple of days. You can get it downloaded also on Amazon if you are so compelled for the Kindle version of it. $3.99. Just go over to Amazon and Google The Unknown America. But if you get it from the website, TheUnknownAmerica.com, we will throw in absolutely free of charge, well, a pocket Constitution and Declaration of Independence that you can use to piss off your liberal friends. So go check it out right now. Spread it around. By the way, if you happen to get it on Kindle if you have a Kindle membership for $9 a month, you can download it for free. And if you get the Kindle version of it, we'll even allow you to share it for free because we want to get the information out there. We also ask that you share this program if you're listening online, whether or not you're listening through the website, Blog Talk. You can go to Michael Hart Show. You can go to Heart of America, Periscope. You can hear us on the Twitter feeds. You can hear us on YouTube and Spotify. Oh, my gosh, Google Play, Apple Store. You can hear us, I think, at the Walmart even. If you can't find this program, then you must be an Ocasio-Cortez Democrat. But go check it out right now and share the program and let people know all about all the things you're hearing here. If you're enjoying the program, we would appreciate it so very much as we continue to spread the Christian conservative, sometimes cranky message of Heart of America and the Michael Hart Show. Quick break, coming right back on the other side. Going to break into this Comey story as we prepare to wrap things up on this, the January 14th edition of the Michael Hart Show. So y'all stick around. We're coming right back. The Land Report, the magazine for the American landowner, is a proud supporter of the Michael Hart Show. Currently, they're offering an exclusive subscription price for listeners of the Michael Hart Show. So click on the subscribe button on landreport.com and enter the code HARTSHOW at checkout and receive a 1-year discount on America's #1 land magazine. You'll get a full year of the Land Report, which normally goes for $59, for only $15. That's a 75% savings off the cover price. Again, that's promo code HARTSHOW at checkout of thelandreport.com, and make sure to check out the Land Report on Facebook if you love land. Heart of America and the Michael Hart Show is brought to you in part by the Unknown America Project. Unknown America, Myths and Little-Known Oddities About the Greatest Nation on Earth explores many of the falsehoods and fallacies and revisions in American history that impact the beliefs and the thoughts of many people in this country today. So if you'd like to learn some of the most enduring myths that have been perpetrated on the American public for the last 100-plus years in this country, go check out the book at heartofamerica.net. That's heartofamerica.net. And pick up a copy of Unknown America. It comes out to you absolutely no shipping, be autographed, and we'll even send you a copy of the United States Constitution as our way of saying thanks. So support the Unknown America Project by simply going to theunknownamerica.com, and thank you for your support.
Anyone can tell you the news.
We welcome Diamond and Silk.
Mark Zuckerberg gonna end up, and it's gonna be a face without the book.
Book without the page.
Hey, Megan, how are you?
Now they're chipping away at the normalization of pedophilia, and the left is embracing this type of behavior.
We welcome Dinesh D'Souza.
I know I ticked him off. In a certain sense, it's a giant up yours to Obama, and that's why the left is freaking out over it.
Jack Kennedy and LBJ, Clinton, and the double standard from the left.
Yeah, I love how the left does nothing but push the most bizarre practices down our throats and up our tailpipes.
It takes a real man to tackle the hot issues that really matter.
Michael Hart is the man of this house.
Welcome to the Michael Hart Show.
Hey, welcome back. Phone is 929-477-3761 as we're about to wrap this puppy up today. The White House also lashed out against what they call it's a quote, disgraced partisan hack James Comey and known liar Andrew McCabe on Friday after a report that the FBI and after Trump had fired Comey as the Bureau's director, opened a secret inquiry into whether Trump had been working on behalf of Russia against American interests. The investigators working on the inquiry had to assess whether Trump's actions could constitute a possible national security threat. The agency tried to determine whether the president was working for Russia or had fallen under the Kremlin's influence, this according to the New York Times. The probe into Trump also looked into possible criminality, in particular the May 2017 firing of Comey, and whether that could be deemed an obstruction of justice. What's interesting about this is that constitutionally speaking, the President of the United States is fully within his constitutional rights to fire whoever the hell he wants to fire. This demonstrates the amazing desperation from the left to get anything on this president, knowing that he would stand in defiance to what their agenda was, particularly as it relates to the southern border. Everything in terms, if it has nothing to do with, if you see these trending stories of, what's in for the Kardashians or what car is hot this year or what baby formula is in, I'm talking politically speaking, if you take the top 4 or 5 stories that are in the news on any given day and lay them side by side, you will see this thread that runs through every single one of them. That's why we have moved this program into the Unknown America Project. Every single day, that becomes more and more than I ever had intended. Because with every single passing day, we find more and more idiocracy of ignorance. The probe in the Trump looks into the criminality of the firing of one of his own employees. Chew on that for a moment. The timing of the investigation also raises questions that both Comey and FBI lawyer Lisa Page had told House investigators last year that by the time the FBI director was fired and special counsel appointed, there was no hard evidence of collusion between the Trump camp and the Kremlin. According to Comey in a recent testimony, in fact, when I was fired as director, I still didn't know if there was anything to it. But yet again, we are looming on the deadline of the wall. Bear in mind, Republicans had the House at this point in time, but the Democrats knew it was coming. The time that much of the collusion investigation, pre-Comey firing, was taking place, you've got to remember that little Alexandria Ocasio is just starting to emerge onto the political scene and gaining traction, despite the fact that she misplaced her yoga pants and was pissed off about Spanish rice. If you don't know what I'm referring to, Google it while you're Googling the comments from the previous administration on immigration as well as those of Mark Morgan. So we've got the FBI now investigating Trump post-firing of Comey, which is coinciding with the rise of Alexandria Cortez, and heightened concerns about the migrant caravan and the desire of the Trump administration to build a wall. All of this is interwoven with the fact that the Democrats were woefully concerned about the power influence of Trump, so much so that their desire to dismantle this administration, I believe, at least in part, gave rise to the Alexandria Cortezes of the world, who just blossoms onto the scene about the exact same time that this investigation is beginning to really ramp up. Everything that you see reported in the national political news, because it's all taking place within the Beltway anyway, everything that you see is all part of this incestuous sorority and fraternity that we know as United States politics. And so with each passing day, it is a challenge for each of us, and I understand that. It's a challenge for each of us to stay apprised of exactly what's going on in front of us every single day. That's one of the reasons that we continue to do this program. It's one of the reasons that we have written the books. It's one of the reasons that we are now beginning to do a lot more media. I'm getting more and more and more offers and invitations to do other types of media because we've got to get away from this idiotic talking head. This is what I think is really going on in the country kind of mindset, and educate more and more and more people to what is really taking place behind the scenes. Otherwise, we are going to end up with an entire generation of these political lemmings like we have following the Cortezes of the world, that although idealistic, their viewpoints are not nearly as hierarchical as they would like to suggest. And we are getting a group of people that are so dumbed down and ignorant that they think that the wall is there as some kind of apparatus of Lucifer, and James Comey's a stand-up guy, and that Donald Trump's actually in bed with the Kremlin. So it is incumbent upon us on the conservative right to continue to spread the message that the president, number one, is in fact achieving his agenda, but more importantly than that, and I've said it 1,000 times before, and I'll say it again, we're being lied to, we are being lied to. And unfortunately, a lot of the people like Alexandria that are doing the lying don't know they're doing the lying because they themselves are so far removed from reality. So don't take my word for it. Please Google everything you can get your hands on. Please fact check me on everything that I have to say, because the reality of it is, if we do not, we are going to continue to have groups of people just like we have in the Alexandria Cortez camp, where over a heavy majority of people that support her do in fact believe in socialism, yet a minority of them, and barely a plurality of them, can even define what the word socialism means. That's the condition of America today, and unfortunately, then there's that. We're going to wrap this puppy up and invite you to the regular edition of the Michael Hart Show, which will be back tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. sharp. Again, do me a favor and share the program everywhere you can. Again, we are on so many different platforms right now. Even I don't know where all this program is going out. I know that it's on Heart of America, as well as Spotify, Google Play, the Apple Tune Store. I think it's over at Walmart, aisle 4 near the bread. It's also on the Periscope and Twitter and YouTube. We are going to be adding an actual video component to the program this week. I don't know that we'll do videos every single day, but we will certainly do it, because that way, if I do video every day, I got to get up and take a shower. I got to get ready. It's just too much pressure on me. So we'll do that from time to time. But anyway, please spread the program around. Please tell somebody about the program today. Also, if you have an organization, college, school, church, does not matter, association, organization that does in fact bring in outside speakers from time to time, we would love to hear from you. So for more information on all of our speaking opportunities, you can simply go over to Michael Hart Show, or you can also check it out on the Facebook page and just drop me an email, Michael at Heart of America. It's H-A-R-T, heartofamerica.net. That's it for us. We're going to wrap this puppy up. Invite you to come back and join us again tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. Central Standard Time. You've been listening to Heart of America Presents, and then there's that. We're back with you tomorrow at 8, and we appreciate you stopping by. Bye-bye now. Heart of America and the Michael Hart Show is brought to you in part by the Unknown America Project. Unknown America, Myths and Little-Known Oddities about the greatest nation on earth explores many of the falsehoods and fallacies and revisions in American history that impact the beliefs and the thoughts of many people in this country today. So if you'd like to learn some of the most enduring myths that have been perpetrated on the American public for the last 100-plus years in this country, go check out the book at heartofamerica.net. That's heartofamerica.net. And pick up a copy of Unknown America. It comes out to you absolutely no shipping, be autographed, and we'll even send you a copy of the United States Constitution as our way of saying thanks. So support the Unknown America Project by simply going to theunknownamerica.com, and thank you for your support.